Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, guys. Welcome back to our podcast, Kentucky New American Media. Today I have a special guest, my brother, my friend, John Burnet. So, John, welcome to the podcast today. Tell us who's John, brother.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm glad to be with you, my friend, Farhan. I'm John Burnet. I'm the director with Sin Relief for Care for Refugees and those that have been displaced. Known Farhan for many years now. We've worked together in the community. He's a good leader, a good brother, but most of all, important to me is he's a good friend. He cares about the community. I love serving with him. So, yeah.
Thank you, John. We've been knowing each other for many years, and I thank God for that, and also wanted to introduce you to my community, people who are watching this podcast, to know who's John, what he do, how he's helping the community, how he's giving back. And John, tell us a little bit about what you do with Sin Relief. Tell us, go ahead.
So what I do is we partner with community partners, working with I do a lot of mobilizing with the churches to help come alongside, but one of the main things we do is helping with Care for Refugees is a lot of welcoming refugees. Like we both partner with Catholic Charities or KRM and to say, hey, how do we help families get settled here? And so what I try to do is leverage the networks that we have, the people that we have in the community, the people that care, to say, listen, if we come together, we can accomplish so much more. So we do a lot of, whether it's helping to form welcome teams, setting up people's apartments, working with our partners in the community who own apartments, and to say, hey, we have locations for people to stay, helping people with school or after school, or coming alongside you and saying, hey, how can we help provide tutors to help with the community, to helping people with microfinancing, to say, hey, how do I start a company? How do I maybe restart my life here? And the way I put it is helping people move from crisis to community. And so people have been on a long journey, as many of you will know more than I do, who have come through the camps, who have come through the traveling on that, because I've worked on both sides of the ocean there, of saying, hey, it's been a long journey. You're restarting here. The great thing about it, if you've come to the States, is you are a new American.
You're a new American,
and so, hey, let's journey together to start a new life. In any way we can help you in doing that, from the littlest thing to taking you to an appointment, to helping you set up an apartment, to helping kids in after school, to some of the sports things that we have done with soccer. And that, to say, how can we help the community? The way I look at it a lot of times is, if you don't mind, tell a quick story.
Go ahead.
The way I got really moved to work with refugees was in Uganda, and working in the camps there. And I saw families, I saw people trying to take care of their families, been through horrific situations, and trying to rebuild life. And I saw too many kids with what I call the light kind of going out in their eyes. Meaning what I call starting to lose the ability to dream. They're starting to say, is this going to just be my life every day? And that really motivated me to say, no, you know what, there's so much more. We can help people not only in this particular situation in the crisis, but as they're getting set up. So as I came back to the States, I really wanted to be a part of that. And so with Sin Relief, I oversee that Care for Refugees, those that have been displaced. And so when we say displaced, we mean, in this particular situation, we're talking about refugees, so that's forcibly displaced. We also work with people who have been vulnerably displaced. So that's human trafficking. That might be other ways that people who are vulnerable in the community. To those that have been purposely displaced, just simply meaning they've had a choice in what they've done, or a choice has been made for them. So that might be immigrants coming up into the community, or international students, to work alongside to help them be welcomed in as well. To those, like we were talking about right before this podcast, with crisis in the community or disaster relief, I call it naturally displaced. So that's what we mean by displaced. There's different ways. So
I know. I mean, John, you are also a father, a community leader. The way I get to know you was through Refuge, the program, the nonprofit you had on South End.
That's right.
And what you're doing is kind of similar. You know, you're always making people's lives better.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what situation, disaster, you know, as a refugee or in America as a new American, you know, I want to say, you know, thank you for all the resources, all the advice. You know, to me, you are a mentor to me.
Oh, thank
also
you.
a brother, you know, and we talk about so many things. You know, we worked, everything we try to do is always success because, you know, we put it in 100%, and it works out usually. Like, you know, back to school supplies, we've been doing it for almost 3 years now.
That's right.
And it's been, you know, most successful project we did, me and John, is giving close to 300-400 students every year back to school supplies. You know, as you understand, some families can afford to pay for those stuff, you know, in America as well. You know, families have 10 kids, 11 kids, and, you know, it costs a lot of money.
That's right.
School supplies. So me and John, together with Chestnut Church, with
Walnut Street.
Walnut Street.
Yep.
Yeah, we sponsor together, work together, and give it back to the community. But thank you for that. I know a lot of people who are watching here, they are part of that program.
Yeah.
But also we did the soccer tournament.
Yeah.
You know, that was for different countries.
Yeah.
And then Somalia won.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. One city we did, at that time we called it Louisville United.
Louisville United, yeah.
Because we both had a passion for, and what Farhan and I have connected with is the soccer side of that, but also the idea of the community, for people to see who is in the community, to promote those that are in the community. And so I thought that Louisville United was very successful, and that I like the idea of one city, many nations.
Many nations.
And we brought together the teams. I think we had 2 Somali teams.
Yes.
Senegambia team.
It was Afghani team. It was Kenyan team.
Yeah.
We had a team from where Senegambia, Afghani. I remember Kenya, Somalia.
There was a team from Mexico, I believe.
Yeah. So it was. We should bring the back.
We should do that again.
Okay.
It was a fun one. And what we did in that one, just for community building, was Farhan knew all the teams, had the league, and then we said, hey, how can we work together in this? And we came up with an idea that I thought was a really good example of what we're talking about here, which was, I said to Farhan, and we talked about it, I said, what if we mobilized and got people from, like I said, I work a lot with the churches, but what if I got people from the community, from the churches to come and to be the fans
of
the teams. And so they came, and we did a little bit of cross-cultural with them to say, hey, you pick a team. So, hey, I'm going to do the Somali team. Just share with them a little bit, but come with the colors, come with that, cheer for the team. And we did a round robin, meaning just simply, if you lost one game, you were out of the tournament. But we did jumping castles and food. But the goal was, hey, the people come, cheer for your team. Most people usually, now if we've played sports, this isn't always the case. Most people love their fans, and the fans love them. You know, we know there could be cases where that's not. But the goal was, hey, come cheer for the team, and then at least share a meal together. And to try to get to know one another, share your stories. And I think it went really, really well. Because it was so much bigger than the games.
Wow, it's so much bigger. It's like bringing communities together. Yeah. Like maybe Afghani team and Somali folks never met each other.
That's right.
So we bring that brings people together, and
that's right.
Yeah, we should bring that back.
We should bring it back. Good food. Everybody came with their food. It's definitely something I think in the community can get behind from so many levels. And it just what I love about it is it celebrates the international community. That's here.
Yes.
And it lets people participate in that.
Absolutely. We'll work on that. And then, John, you know, tell me, I want people to learn, also myself to learn, what motivated you to do this social enterprise work, helping people? What was the motivation behind it? Can you tell us?
Well, you know, you and I are both men of faith. We believe in the one true God, and that. So I'm motivated by my faith, by my faith in God, to love people and to just show that love to others, and to say, hey, like we were talking about before this, that we have a purpose, and that. And so I'm motivated by that, and to say, listen, out of that love for people, out of God's love for me, I can share that love with people, to others, and that's really what motivates me in life. And to say, listen, you know, we've got one life.
One life, one shot.
One shot, and you can live it for yourself. I mean, you have a choice, right? You are not a robot, and that you can live it for yourself, or you can live for others. And I think there's a balance, like we talked about. It's not. You know, if you are doing this, one thing we were just talking about, if you are doing this kind of work, don't burn yourself out. This kind of work, helping others, there will always be needs. And that to take time to balance family and your work, but to say, listen, we need to go out and help one another. Life's too short, and everybody needs help. And I believe that we were created to live in community.
Correct.
To live with one another, to help one another. And this is one way to reflect that.
Absolutely, absolutely. John, when I grew up in Nairobi, Eastleigh, and a refugee camp. It was always like a village. I know the guy next door, I know the guy at the store, I know the guy. Everybody in the neighborhood knows me. They know my dad. I can't screw up anything. If I ditch school time, they will find me outside.
That's right.
Say, why are you outside?
That's right.
I grew up in that kind of environment.
Right.
So it was like already a village there. So in America it's different. It's kind of like individualistic. You live in your own home, your own car. Your neighbor maybe doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
But that's why we have these communities. Is to bring back that life. Hey,
that's right.
You need a job, come to me. You need something. It's kind of like a resource center, and that's why we are here every day to make sure that even if we help one person a day, that I've done something for the day.
I think one of the biggest things and the cultural things that I've learned from others, being overseas, is in America, I believe individualism is what kills our community.
Yes.
And that it's a big thing here. And it hurts people.
Yes.
And when people move here, there's nothing wrong about being an individual and loving yourself, taking care of yourself, and saying, I have a dream for myself. Right. All of that's okay.
It's okay,
And that, but it's when it becomes selfish. And say, I'm going to take everything from me. And I think when people are coming from a communal-based society like that, you come here, and that's one of the biggest challenges. Is I try to tell, so I work with a lot of people who look like me. You're Westerners, and one of the things I'm doing with them is helping them to have cross-cultural intelligence and to realize we come from different communities. One might be more time-oriented, one might be more event-oriented, one might be more individual, one might be more communal, and while and I can say this for people like me, in my culture, a lot of times they think they are very hospitable, and maybe they are to a certain degree, but they're not like in like a community-based society where you share things and you come together, which I think is a better picture of what it should be like. And so one of the things that I mentioned earlier with the welcome teams, one of the goals of that when I'm mobilizing people to come out of the churches is to help them to learn how other cultures and to listen. I believe empathy begins with listening and understanding. And if we don't talk to one another, don't understand one another, we'll never really get to know one another. We'll put people in categories. So so helping people to have community and then to leverage that community to help others, not only does it bring great joy on one side and help others, but it's not one-sided. I tell people, when you're helping someone, don't be from a top down. We all need help in life. No. That's called colonialism. Right? We're not interested
so
in that.
We have to be like
we come at, this is another human being. They're equal with you. You might be helping them right now, but here's the thing. Just like in our relationship, I've learned a lot from you. And that we learn a lot from one another. And then and you come together like that. And when you do that, you start to tear down fear. You start to tear down misunderstandings. You start to build real relationships.
I mean, they say, my dad told me one time, is the best investment is with people.
That's right.
With people.
Well, he's a wise man.
To know them. He say if you know a lot of people, and if you read a lot of books, you will learn a lot that you never learn anywhere else. So it's important, people are investment, are treasure. So you got to know them. As you said, we have to be like sharing, benefits, help each other, So, and that's why, I keep in touch with you all the time. You are a friend that, hey, I can learn something from you. I can get assistance. Maybe I need something, you will help me. Maybe I don't know, but there's someone who knows. It's kind of like what keeps up communications. And also because I'm one person, I'm trying to help a community of 10,000 people. It's not easy. But it's easy when you have people like you, John, who are on your side, that you can call them and help you out too. We
can partner together.
Absolutely. And John, so tell us the difference between helping folks in the US and overseas. What do you think in the difference between someone who's displaced in another country in Africa and someone who New American? What are the differences?
Well, I think if you're talking about refugee specific,
refugees, yes.
The way I look at it, and certainly I don't want to offend anybody who's been through the actual experience.
Yes,
and that I want to be very sensitive to that, because I haven't been through that.
Right.
Is that? But the way I'm looking at it, and trying to help, is you have the stages of the crisis time, where people might be driven out of their home. Mm-hmm. Right. Then you have the stage of maybe a transitional time.
Yes.
But as you know, people might be in camps for 10 years.
I've been 12 years.
Yeah, 12 years. Like, were you at Kakuma?
Kakuma, man.
Yeah.
Tough.
So I know that camp. Yeah. In Kenya. And that,
have you been there?
Yes, I've been there.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's so that's why I thought the name I'd forgotten you said in Kenya. Anyway.
Yeah.
And so, but my main experience was like Nacha Valley and some of the camp Bidi up northern Uganda, and so you have this transitional period, but it's not transition like people might think. It's a long time.
It's a long time.
These become like cities and locations, and people are living there. And so ministering to people there and helping people there is saying, how do you help people not lose hope in that, and to build life there, and that, but to also be moving forward. But as somebody comes to another country, so as they come here, a lot of times this might be their final destination or for a long period of time.
Yes.
And so, one, you're trying to help them as they come here to rebuild life and to say, okay, now as you know, people who've come out of a refugee camp, when they come to a new country, so let's just take America.
Developed country, yes.
A developed country, there's a lot of transition.
Big time.
But they're also very motivated.
Yes.
They want to start a new life, right? That's why they're, as people are coming as refugees, they're, I like the idea of saying, hey, when you're coming here, we know that a refugee labeled just means you've been driven out from your country because of violence and persecution, and that. But I like to not keep that term, but to say, hey, these are new Americans, and they're coming in and saying, here you're helping people to maybe get reestablished. And that, whereas in a camp, while some people may be there forever, I hope not, but but they might be. That's more of a transition, and you're trying to say, even though it may have been 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, 12 years, let's keep working towards opportunity. Let's use this as a time to get your education, learn language, other things on that you can be prepared. But here you're helping someone to really get established, that resettlement part of that. So it's the crisis, it's the transition, and your resettlement. And there's just different responsibilities here as you're helping somebody to think about, okay, let's think long term. Let's think about, finding that first job, but then looking at education, looking at opportunity, looking at future for that, whether it's you or your children with education. Let's do things like what you're doing here, which is what I love about partnering with you, helping with the tutoring, helping with that. And then I'm very sensitive to families who, I know it's very hard when someone moves here and they are, coming from this country, but their kids might be growing up here. Like, you speak English better than I do, because you learned it here. I'm from Georgia, and so I have the accent and that. But trying to help families not lose culture. Too. And I'm sure that's something you talk within families that you know more than I do. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, to keep your culture is what keeps your family.
Keeps your family. We want to guard that. We want to help people with that, while also helping their children to grow up here and to hopefully embrace the positive opportunities that you have here, and not the negative opportunities on that, and to help people get into a better situation in life. And so it is different than in a camp. So you have the crisis time where you're meeting people who have just been driven out, and then just to bring up, because you talk a lot with mental health on the trauma side of things, and you may have seen this more than I have. Certainly things will come out in the camp, but sometimes when people get to a place of resettlement, and we don't have to go down this road of conversation, but when they get here, it's all of a sudden they're starting to actually feel a little bit relaxed, like, oh, I can actually rebuild a life here, start something. That's sometimes when some of the bad memories come back, and that. So I'm just being conscious of the whole person and helping them mentally, physically, spiritually, to get set up here so they can rebuild life.
Absolutely, man.
So those are probably the biggest differences in the ways you're helping.
Yeah, in the ways. I mean, when you say all these things, I started getting flashbacks.
Yeah, and I don't want to bring any trauma to anybody.
It's good thing. It's good things.
What I want to say there is, hey, there are people that love you.
Yes.
There are people that care.
Yes.
Within your own culture,
right,
and within other cultures.
Right.
And so we want to model that and learn from and serve one another.
Yeah, I mean, John, to be honest, it's amazingly, because one thing I learned in America, to be honest, is people like you, when you come to this country as a refugee, you came from a camp, you come here and you see people who care, people who are willingly to ask you for any help you need, and never hesitate to help you. It gives you hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I met people that, hey, because first when you get here, it can hit you sometimes, like, oh, this is tough, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But then you find people on the way willingly to support you. I'm like, okay, there's still people who have hope in you, and we need more people like you and me who are here to say, hey, you come here, hey, we can help you with anything you need.
And that's one thing we were talking about even before this was, one of the things we can do, and just like you could do, like you do here, such a great job, and across the U.S., we can leverage these networks to help one another.
Wow.
You know, as people are, maybe they come in a Boston or a New York and they move here.
Yes.
You know, if we've had people able to help them there, we can communicate, families are coming here, let's be able to receive them, or vice versa.
Right.
And I think leveraging, it's amazing how complex yet simple it can be. And everybody needs help in life at different times on that. And so, because, poverty is not about simply not having money. People think that's the case. It's about lack of or broken relationship.
Yes.
And so, we are, yes, you need money and that, but you also need relationships to build networks, like what you're doing such a great job for the Somali community, is you're building a network and relationships so that everybody succeeds.
Yes.
Everybody has opportunity.
Correct.
But if we don't do that, then we're isolated.
We're isolated. Yeah. Because the most frustrating thing is when you don't know, when you need something, but you don't know even who to call.
That's the broken relationship.
Yes.
That's what I mean. Is so when you have relationships and we work together, we can just do so much more and help one another.
Yes.
It's not just you calling me; it's me calling you.
Yes.
Saying, "Hey, how can Farhan? Can you help me with this? How can we work together?"
Right. Like there's a guy who works on the city. He's my friend. He works at Office of Immigrant Affairs, but he called me on a weekend because he has a group of young folks who wanted to be in a workshop, but the place was closed. So he called me on Sunday morning, say, hey, if you're in town, can you open the space for me? And then I come and open.
Sure.
So it's kind of, you see, things happen.
It's together. It's together.
It's together. So. Yeah. And John, tell me, what did you learn? What is one important things or a few things that you think in working for the people or social enterprise, making people's life better? What are the things that usually keeps you driving to do this work?
Yeah, I think the friendships you build, of course, and then you just learn so much from other cultures.
Correct.
You learn from others about how they worldview, how they see the world, and that. So, like I was saying, I've learned so much more about like community, by working with our refugee community who are so hospitable. So I'd say one of the biggest things I've learned over the years working, whether it's overseas or here, is what true hospitality looks like, and really what it means to open up your home. And like you go to somebody's home and they open that up and say, hey, come on in, and they share everything and say, man, how can we, there's a real love there in a community that I grew up in a very loving family, but because I came from a more individualistic culture, I didn't have that kind of community view until I got older and learned from others. So that, to just thinking about life in general, what's important in life. But you also realize, one thing you realize is, while in a lot of ways people are incredibly different, speak different languages, maybe look different, all those things, at the end of the day, we're not that radically different. We have families, we have children. We want to see our families succeed. We want to see our children succeed. We want to,
be healthy.
To be healthy in life and to do all those things. And so one of the things I've learned is, man, people aren't as different as you think. And so once you get to know them, learn some language, learn a little bit of culture, but a lot of it's listening. you can just go so much farther. And I have so many friends from different countries that I've learned so much from.
Wow.
And so like I'll go back to Uganda just because that was my first experience. One of the things that I loved about in their language in Luganda. Luganda, when you greet somebody, you say "Osibiotia ano Seba," which means "How are you?" Seba, right?
How are you?
And then there's a phrase though that always stuck with me is they said "Jebaleko," which means "Thank you for your work." And they would say this to someone that they never even met. And what they mean by that is, I'm just giving an example of what you learn, is what they mean by that is, even though I don't know you, you have value in society.
Wow.
Whether you have a job or not.
You have
they're saying,
value.
yeah, thank you for your work. Is thank you for what you do on a day, for your existence, for who you are. And that was a powerful thing to me. I'll give you one more on there. I think people will like this because it exposes the Westerners as there's a term in East Africa they use Mzungu. You probably heard it in Swahili. Yeah. So
that means white.
It means white guy, Westerner, right? But so in Kenya you say Mzungu, Swahili, in Luganda you say Muzungu, which Mu means one person. But I learned to speak the language. Zungu means to turn around in circles. Okay. So here's one thing you learn about that word, which language is very powerful, is Zungu means to turn around in circles. So I would say, as I was helping the Ugandans and learning and living with them and helping, and we were learning from one another, they started to say to me, John, no, you're no longer a Mzungu, you are a Muganda. And I would say to them, meaning one of us, a Uganda. And I said, well, I said, I thank you for saying that. And I want to be, we are brothers and sisters and all of that. But I thought Mzungu was just a Westerner. I can't not be a Westerner, right? And they said, no, and explained the origin of the word. One who turns around in circles. And so this is just a good point for anybody, is in the West, sometimes they said, hey, when Westerners came, they brought a lot of good things. They brought some medicine, they brought other things that was helpful. But the Westerner, a lot of times he goes here for a meeting, he goes here for a meeting. I'm purposely turning around. He goes here for a meeting for 45 minutes, here for a meeting for an hour, and then he's gone, right? And they said, the thing is, while what he's doing might be good, the Mzungu, he just goes on to the next task. They said, John, you invited us into your home. You came into our homes and you listened to our stories, but you also invited us into your home and you told us your stories. Okay. And they said, so you're not a Mzungu, you're a Muganda. And so my encouragement to anybody out there that's growing up here, don't become a Mzungu. Don't become just a Western. I know it's white skin too, but you know what I mean.
Also share your stories.
Share your stories. Keep that community there. That's just so important.
That's so important, yes. And that's why, we are a community. And I like that because you mostly go to Africa.
Yeah.
And so one thing you said you like about going there is you're learning different cultures, different languages, different. What are some other things that you enjoy in Africa that you can't find in America?
Well, a lot of the good food.
A lot of good food.
Yeah.
Good organic food, huh?
Yeah, that's right. I've eaten a lot of motoki.
I had this good motoki. Yeah. I need to go to Uganda.
G-nut sauce. That's where I mainly spent my time on that. But what I like is the pace of life.
The pace of life. Yeah, it's kind of like slow pace.
I wish I could take the pace of life in Africa and have that with some of the benefits of things we have here in America.
Yes.
And that, because I do think here in the States, one of the things, and I know families are battling against this, is everybody's so busy. And everything's here is work.
Yeah.
What I love about there is, while people work very, very hard, it's not about not being a hard worker. Yeah. They work way harder than most people do. Yeah. They're very, very hard workers, very, very intelligent, because intelligence is not about your education level, and that, but also knew how to put things down and just be community.
Be community. Speak to social.
Speak social.
Social life, yeah.
Go, you might be playing the drums, singing, hanging out, but a real sense of family. And that pace of life, I love.
Wow.
I love that. Just going, you go to the coffee shop, you go grab tea, or you might be with the men here, women might be over here, whatever the case may be.
It's like social life.
But the social life and the pace of life, because then you can really tell the stories. You can really get to know someone.
Wow.
You can really spend time together that matters. And I think that's where you really learn. I think that's where you really grow.
Yeah.
You have the older men, younger men coming together. You're telling the story. You're sharing from one another. The same with the ladies and you're just able to have a pace of life that allows you to spend time together. And because they value that so much, it's a part of the culture, and I just love that because you don't get that as much here.
Right, but we all have 24 hours.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But even when I went back to Kenya, and everybody that in my community that goes back home, Kenya, Uganda, or Somalia, they always say the same thing, as you said. They say,
"Oh, really?" Okay.
Yeah, they say the pace, the social life. I love that.
Yeah,
and they say there's not even a stress. Like there's no pressure behind me.
Yeah,
there's no mailbox to go to.
Yeah,
to open what's going on. So it's kind of like we still live, but it's not that rush. Like it's not into that. So the only thing we have here is our time. I don't know. Is it rushing? We're still figuring it out.
It's the culture here. It puts a lot of pressure on people. Because it's like go.
Yeah.
And if everybody's doing that, you feel like I've got to do that.
Oh.
And that's why I say, take time
relax.
To relax. Take time with your family. Take time to step back. And I get it, man. When you're having to work long hours and all that, I mean, you got to get things done. And there's a time there. But I do think there's just something that we can really take, and you guys have brought to here to say, don't lose that. Fight that at every turn to spend that time with family and that, because you can't get that time back. And like you said, we all have 24 hours. But I think there's a pace of life there.
Yes.
And there's an expectation that I think is a healthier expectation here. Where here it's like, there's a phrase that they use in economics here called keeping up with the Joneses. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah, I heard about it.
Yeah. So keeping up with the Joneses simply means it's the idea that in the U.S. people have neighbors and they see what their neighbors have and they start getting envious. They're like, oh, I need that. Oh, I need that.
I need that.
Oh, the Joneses got a new car, so we need a new car. Oh, the Joneses got a new thing, so I need a new thing. Oh, the Joneses got, they cut their yard like this, so I need to do that.
New garden, all that.
So instead of, and the idea behind the phrase is, that's not a good thing.
Wow.
Don't always be comparing yourself. That's like social media. Causes a lot of issues with mental health and that, because people are scrolling through and they're thinking, oh,
I wish I could have this.
I wish I had all that. I had all that. And so, God tells us don't covet after things and that, but it's that idea. There's so much access to stuff here. I think that pushes people in a negative way. So learning, I think, to, of course we got to work hard and that, but to be at peace with what you have, to be thankful for what you have. Be content with what you have, and don't let that, it's okay to get nice things. It's okay to do other stuff, but don't let that replace your family. Your culture, your life, your friends, and that's what I think in helping others and going out beyond that is a way to be reminded of that. But like I said, it's never a top down helping on that. That's never a good thing. If somebody's helping somebody else, you're never looking down on somebody else. You're just saying, man, how can we
look at eye to eye?
How can we have eye to eye, partner together in this? And one thing I always tell people is, one thing you can't fake, even if you don't really speak the language or understand the culture or not, people know whether you really love them or not.
Yes.
And that's by the way you treat them, by the way you act towards them.
They don't forget that.
They don't forget that, and you can't fake it.
You can't fake it.
You can think you're faking it. I'm going to go do this. Like, I did this. But, sometimes people go help others, but they go help somebody else, and they're like, oh, but look at me.
Wow.
I'm the one. No. People know when you're helping them, or when you're being friends with them. It's not all about just helping. Just being community together. They know whether you really love them or not. They know whether you really care, because you can't fake that.
Yes.
So, but anyway, I think I've learned a lot from so many other cultures. But probably, that's interesting. You said a lot of people say that. That's probably the biggest one, is the pace of life and the view of life. I think it's healthier.
It's healthier, yes. You feel more healthier. And also the food. We need more organic food.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah, I'm tired of, with all this, ingredients on the boxes, like 100 ingredients for just one thing that you just grab it from the farm.
That's why so many people develop diabetes and stuff here.
Yeah,
it's because
the healthy. Yeah, and I understand. I think it's the environment we live in and how also business is shifting. But I think it's also depends on what the policies the government is making. Like Sweden, there's some stuff that they don't allow in Sweden that we're eating every day.
That's right. No, ours is one of the worst.
One of the worst.
And so you gotta really be careful.
But John, is there anything you want to add to this podcast? This is not the last one or the first one. We'll have more podcasts. We'll talk about different topics.
I just want to say thank you, Farhan, for being such a great leader in the community.
Thank you.
For caring about your people. As you know, if you're watching this, you know Farhan, he loves, he cares, and that. But I've seen him behind the scenes doing things because he really cares about the community. And so I think we have a brotherhood in that, and that encourages me. And you've been a real encouragement to me and a mentor as well.
Thank you, John. All same to you. I wanted to say all that, but you said before me. He does all that too. He's amazing father, amazing leader, amazing brother to depend on, to call him. He's always a resource, to me, mentor. But we need more people. There's something that you have, as the Uganda say, there's something important that you can do, and never say that I'm not useless. You always have something useful in you.
You have a purpose.
You have a purpose. So share with people, talk, help, and I want to say, John, thank you for all you did for the Somali community, for me, all you did for this community. We in this together, journey together, and we'll have more podcasts, me and John. If you want to talk about topics we want to talk about, comment on this video.
I'd love to hear what people say, comment and learn from. We will post this video in a few days. But thank you guys, thank you, John, thank you
my brother. All right.